Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Patrice, and in this video we will be discussing things I've read. And now let's get started. The first book I'm going to talk about today is titled Into the Leopard's Den, and this was written by Harini Nagendra, and this is a cozy mystery / historical fiction. And I'll read the summary. When an elderly woman is attacked and dies clutching a pitcher of Kaveri while asking for her help, how can she refuse? Kaveri investigates with help from milk boy Vinu, housemaid Anandi, and neighbor Uma Auntie. They find a trail of secrets that lead them to suspect the killer may be in court. When Kaveri arrives, she encounters several other mysteries to be solved. Why does a ghost leopard prowl the forest at night? Who's trying to kill Colonel Boyd, the coffee king of court? Soon one murder turns into two, and then a few days later into three. Kaveri and her team must find and expose an intelligent killer before they strike again. So I have talked about this mystery series on my channel before. Kaveri and Ramu are one of my favorite mystery couples. I just really like their relationship. Kaveri is unconventional for her time because she solves these mysteries, and she's also studying math at like the college level, and that was, rare back in those days. And Ramu is very supportive, and he encourages her mystery solving. He doesn't really like it because, of course, she's in danger, but he helps her when he can, and he's supportive of her going back to school as well. In this latest installment of the series, Kaveri is pregnant, so that adds like some extra excitement to this story. And I really like how the side characters are more involved. So we get more of Vinu, more of Anandi, and more of Uma Auntie. Like they have a really big role in this mystery. And let's see, oh, there's recipes included. So at the end of the story, they do have some recipes. And I like when my foodie mysteries have recipes included. As for dislikes, there's nothing that I really disliked about this story. Now, was it my favorite out of the series? No, but this is a solid mystery book. There are several mysteries to solve in this story, and everything ties together pretty well at the end. So I ended up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I'm going to talk about is titled History Lessons, and this was written by Zoe B. Wallbrook. And this is a cozy mystery / romance / historical fiction. And I'll read the summary. Junior Professor Daphne Overture spends her days giving lectures, working on her academic book, and going on horrible dates. Her small world suits her fine until Sam Taylor dies. Sam was never one of Daphne's favorite peers, but Sam's killer believes Daphne has something that belonged to Sam. Daphne embarks on her own investigation to find out what connects her to Sam's murder. So I'm going to give you the likes first. So I enjoyed this story because the main character was very relatable. This is the first time that I've seen a plus size main character. She is also a blurred, which is a black nerd. Um, and she's a little bit awkward, so very relatable. Um, I love Daphne's friend group. So she has these two friends, and one of them like takes no crap, and the other one is like sweeter than sweet. But I would love to hang out with them. So I really enjoyed like their banter and just like how their relationship unfolds and develops throughout the story. And I like that we get to see the inner workings of academia and, what a Black woman has to go through, like how they aren't taken seriously and how they may feel out of place and have to deal with like microaggressions. I felt like that was an authentic part of the story. So I enjoyed that as well. Now, some things I did not like. Now, my biggest gripe with this book is that it is like 2 or 3 different books like tied in together. So we have the mystery, and it feels like that was solved halfway through the book, and then we just, kind of like forget about it. And then we go on to the romance part of the story with Daphne and her love interest that is in the story. And one, I didn't like that because it's like insta love, and like I feel like she doesn't even really know this guy, and they are just like head over heels, like in love with each other. Like it's so unbelievable. And some of the writing was like a little clunky. Like there were some weird phrases and just like weird dialogue. Like people don't talk that way. So that threw the story off a little bit as well. And then we got a lot of descriptions about the campus and the building. And I guess that is understandable because this is the first book, and the author is trying to develop this world and give us plenty of details so that we can picture it. But like a lot of it was repetitive, and it didn't need to be in there for the story. So I did enjoy this book, but by the time I got to the end, I just wanted it to be over just because it was so much um, going on in the story. Like I said, the mystery is solved halfway through, and then we kind of drop that story. We pick up on the romance, and then we get into um, like some trauma and abuse parts of the story. Like it just did not tie in well together. Like I feel like the author should have done either a straight up mystery and none of that romance mumbo jumbo, or either a romance and like academia part of the story with like drama and all that stuff. Like that would have been a good book too, but they needed to be separate. Let's see. I talked about the insta love. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And also with this relationship, like Daphne and this guy, they were like making out and like doing stuff that was like totally inappropriate at like the most inappropriate times as well. Like Daphne is supposed to be worried about this murder and people coming after her because of what they think she knows, and she's more worried about making out with this guy that she just met and knows nothing about. And that didn't make sense at all either. So lots of good stuff, but then lots of things that did not work as well. So overall, I gave this story a 3.5 out of 5 stars. But I would be interested in reading more just because, for me, mysteries with African American leads are hard to find. And I am always on the hunt for new authors. And like I said, I enjoyed this, but this was her first book and she did have some things that she can improve upon. So I would like to see if the series gets better. The next book I'm going to talk about is titled Let Us March On, and this was written by Shara Moon, and this is a historical fiction, and I'll read you the summary. When Lizzie McDuffie boldly proclaimed herself Secretary on Colored People's Affairs, She became more than just a maid to Eleanor and Franklin D. Roosevelt. She became the president's eyes and ears into the Black community. Never shy about pointing out injustices, she advocated for the needs and rights of her fellow African Americans when those in the White House blocked access to the president. Let Us March On looks at the unsung and courageous crusader who's finally getting the recognition she so richly deserves. So I really enjoyed this story because this history, like I didn't know anything really. I had never heard of Lizzie McDuffie, and I didn't know like the role that she played in the White House. So it was nice being able to read her story and to learn more about Franklin Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt, and also Lizzie's husband, and how he was the one who actually worked with FDR first, and then Lizzie was brought into the White House um, afterwards. So that was something that was very interesting to me. The main thing that I didn't like was that I wanted more of Lizzie and Irvin's story. Irvin is her husband, and their lives. And it just seemed like most of this story focused on their relationship to the president. And I know that was an important part of the story, but I just felt like we didn't get to really know Lizzie and Irvin outside of their relationship with the president. Like, I kind of wanted to know more about their families and how they met and what they actually felt and thought and stuff like that. So I would have liked more information on their actual lives. As you guys know, I like stories with real life people because then I can go down these little rabbit holes and just read more about them. So I think that's probably what I will have to do with Lizzie, just to see, like what else happened to them besides like being in the White House, like what happened to them afterwards and stuff like that. So overall, I gave this story a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next book I'm going to talk about is titled Girl in Disguise, and this was written by Greer McCallister, and this is a historical fiction, and I'll read the summary. With no money and no husband, Kate Warren finds herself with few choices. Kate convinces the legendary Alan Pinkerton to hire her as a detective. Battling criminals and co-workers alike, Kate immerses herself in the dangerous life of an operative, winning the right to tackle some of the agency's toughest investigations. But is the woman she's becoming capable of any and all lies, swapping identities like dresses, the true Kate, or has the real disguise been the good girl she always thought she was? So this was interesting because after I brought this book home from the library, I realized I had already read this book, but I went ahead and finished it and reviewed it anyway. Like, I remembered the story, and I enjoyed it, so I just finished it again. Now, I like this again because this is a real life person with a real story that you can look up and learn more about. I enjoyed the characters in the story. The only real gripe that I have with the book is that Kate gets in a romance with one of the other agents, and it kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere because they can't stand each other. And then they're together, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't feel organic. It just feels like the author put them together um, because it would move the story further along to have them together. But overall, I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The last book I'm going to talk about today is titled People of Means, written by Nancy Johnson. And this is a historical fiction, and I will read the summary. In the fall of 1959, Frida Gilroy arrives on the campus of Fisk University full of hope. Soon the ugliness of the Jim Crow South intrudes, and she's thrust into a movement for social change. Frida is reluctant to get involved and finds herself caught between two worlds and two loves, and must decide how much she's willing to sacrifice for the advancement of her people. In 1992 Chicago, Frida's daughter Tulip is an ambitious public relations professional on track for an exciting career. Tulip feels called to action after the Rodney King ruling, and an irreversible professional misstep may cause her to lose everything she's worked so hard to achieve. Now, I really like this story. I thought it was written in a very interesting way. I like how the author used history and the civil rights movement and weaved it into a romance story. I I really, really enjoyed um, Frida's romance with her husband, and then there was another student that she met on campus. So they were kind of vying for Frida's attention. And I love how we get to see like the debate between how some Black folks felt, you know, if you were just like respectable, that white people would respect you and leave you alone, and you would kind of um, climb the social ladder and make things better for your family. But then you had other people who said no, like we need to push people into accepting us and giving us rights. Like we shouldn't have to like try to fit into the mold of what they think we should be to be accepted as human beings. So I just thought that was a nice way to look at respectability versus revolution, and how Frida is caught in between both of these things. Like her parents are really sending her to school. Yes, they want her to get an education, but it's really like about networking and making sure you marry into the right family. Um, they basically set her up with her future husband, like while she was in school, and like they had already like made plans for her to marry this guy and everything. So yeah, that was just like an interesting way um, to look at the story and to look at these issues and what was happening back then. I also enjoyed the characters. I felt like they could have all used a little bit more development. It just felt like we were scratching the surface on what they felt and what they were thinking. Like we just got a superficial um, look at them. Like I wanted the author to go a little bit deeper into all of the characters, but they were enjoyable for the most part. The main gripe that I have with this book is that I felt we could have used like another 50 to 100 pages for a satisfying ending. The way that it ended, like I still had more than a few questions. Like I need to know what happened after one of these twists. Like there was a big twist, like you could kind of see coming. But now it's like after this has been revealed, like what happened? And it feels like the author stopped the story like before giving us all the info that we needed. So yeah, I could have done with like a couple more pages for a better ending. And of course, there was lots of bad decision making from multiple characters in this story. Like, I feel like if there was better communication, like some of these problems definitely could have been avoided. And But I guess, you know, that was part of the story, like to add some drama and, yeah, to give us like some sort of conflict. So, but overall, like I said, I really enjoyed this. I know some people did not care for this book, but I really liked it, and I would recommend that people read it. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars overall. So you've made it to the end of another book review video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye-bye.